All right, this morning we are interviewing candidate for president of Canton City Council, Kristen Bates Aylward. And good morning.
Good morning, Pam.
How are you?
I am very well. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. And I know a lot about you, but I think we should let you talk to our viewers and listeners this morning a little bit about yourself. And I don't want to say your history, but your background. Let's put it that way.
Okay. And yes, I do have a lot of background. But first, I do want to thank you, Pam, and I want to thank WHBC for doing this public service. So important. And I urge everyone out there, please get out and vote. It's that important. Whether you vote for me or not, please get out and vote. Okay. Now that I've said that. For those that don't know me, I came to Stark County to take a job at the prosecutor's office under Bob Horowitz, my wonderful mentor, and that was back in the late '80s. And I was a criminal prosecutor there, and I prosecuted everything up to and including capital murder. I then became the head of their juvenile criminal division. I was then the head of the civil division, which acts as the legal counsel for all of the county officials. I left there in early '06 to go work for another one of my mentors and heroes, Joe Martuccio. And that was at the Canton Law Department, and I became his deputy chief counsel. And Joe taught me so much over there, and I have practiced in all the courts, federal, in the civil arena, as well as helped him run the office. And then when he decided it was time for him to retire, he was wonderful enough to back me to be his successor. And I was appointed to be the first female Canton law director, which I'm very proud of, and then elected to be the first female Canton law director. So that's my background of my professional life.
And so why president of council?
That's a great question, Pam. And my husband asked me that. No, no. Basically, when I decided to step away from the full-time law director position, which is extremely hectic, and you are in the office 40 plus hours every week. When I decided to step away from that to spend more time with family, my new granddaughter, which anyone who sees my Facebook page knows my granddaughter Josie. But I wanted something with flexibility, but I wanted to continue to serve. So I was actually actively looking at boards, commissions, and other places where I could go and serve my city. And then when I found out that Bill Scheer was going to seek the mayor's seat and not run for president of council, I discussed it with several people, and I decided that would be a perfect way for me to continue to have more flexibility with my time, but a job that I'm tailor-made for, because I sat next to Alan Schulman, God rest his soul, while he was the president. Of course, I've sat next to Bill Scheer. I advise them on everything. When the president has a question, they would ask the law director.
Right.
So
Right.
I have interpreted the rules. I've written many of the rules. And I just think I would be a perfect fit for that job, and I could help to give back. And I've worked with all these people, of course. And I hope they feel well as law director and as an assistant law director. And I know all the people of council, the clerk's office, etc. So that's why I chose to run for this particular office.
Yeah, I look at all your experience, even starting with Bob Horowitz,
Yes.
which was one of my favorite people in the whole world too.
Wonderful man.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think you have a different perspective when sitting there as president of council, and hearing concerns from people and hearing what council is doing, that you could offer something different. Would that be something you would believe too?
Oh, I do believe so. I think that because I have such a breadth of knowledge of so many facets of not just government life, but city life, that I think I could, number one, run a really good meeting. It's so important. And it's so important to let the public participate and to have, of course, council participate, but everyone needs to be in a civil and active manner, but we have to get things done. And so everyone needs to be heard, but everyone needs to be professional. And that goes for council as well as our citizens. And I think we've done a good job, but I think I could really run an excellent meeting. And I also feel, because of my perspective, I can help council when there are disagreements. As law director, I was their lawyer, and I did not publicly disagree with them. I'm their lawyer. I would advise them behind the scenes. I would tell them my thoughts, but as long as what they were doing was legal, that
Hmm.
ended my legal representation. But now I'll be able to actually come out with my actual policy thoughts because I will be elected to be a policy person um, as they move forward. So I feel like I could really add something to that role. I'd like to think, especially because I admired Alan so much because of his legal background and his activism, he was able to lend those sorts of interesting qualities. So,
Yeah, and I don't want to state the obvious, but you are an attorney.
oh yes, yes, for more years than I care to admit to.
And a lot of people think about president of council, and many times they bring up, well, but president of council doesn't have a vote, and only if there's a tie, and those kinds of things. I mean, so you believe you can be effective in other ways.
Right. And the president doesn't have a vote. And I think in all the years I was at the law department, I think we had one tie, and it wasn't
Mm,
something of great consequence. So that role is pretty minimal. But I do think that president of council, and I know Alan used it a lot as a bully pulpit to press agendas he felt were in the best interest of the citizens, and also behind the scenes to help to mend any rifts that can develop, even good naturedly, between council members when they differ on priorities. I mean, everyone has good
mm,
intentions and they're there for the right reasons, but priorities, we only have so much money, we only have so many personnel. Where do we go first? What do we do? And there are legitimate differences of opinion on that. And I would love to be able to finally kind of voice my own opinion.
yeah. I also would imagine that as you see new council members come in, they may not realize what their limitations might be or what parameters are set for them.
You are very right. And what we would do a lot of times at the law department is I would always invite, and most took me up on it, to come up and talk about open meeting laws, public record laws, statutory city versus charter city, all those things so that they can understand what they can and cannot do. Because one of the things that I notice sometimes with people who aren't familiar, they start promising things that simply are not legally possible for, a statutory
Right,
city.
right.
And so I know they wouldn't do that if they knew.
Yeah.
So I like to make sure they know up front where their powers are.
So if you had one thing you could say to voters right now, why they should vote for you, what would that be?
Um, a couple reasons. One, I will just say that I've been working for them, whether they realize it or not, for over 30 years. And I think I've done a good job and I work very, very hard so that if they hire me for this job, I will continue to do that. And I'm a proven commodity. I also have to throw this in. I would be the first female president of council, which again, I take pride in that, not because I'm the first, but because I won't be the last. Because once someone does it, then it's not seen as unusual anymore and people can actually get out there. So it would be nice to have a woman there with the gavel. And I would be very proud of that. So I would ask them humbly for their vote. But I'm also going to say again, Pam, but get out and vote. This mayor's race, we've never had so much interest. At large race, we have some contested wards
Hmm.
also, which is all unusual. So get out and use that vote that so many people fought so hard to get for us.
Very good. Well, we wish you the best of luck.
Oh, thank you, Pam. Thanks for
Thanks.
having me.
Sure.